Hey, listen up. We got another episode of Wise Kracks, featuring the crack man himself, Bill Krackomberger, and our co-host, Jon Orlando, straight from Las Vegas. Wise Kracks is your ticket inside the world of sports betting, with tips, picks, special guests, and more. Only on WSN.com.
We are back at Wise Kracks in studio. I'm actually sitting in Bill Krackomberger's seat because Bill is across the country in Atlantic City, and there's Bill. And Bill, guess who's sitting in the seat I normally sit in today? You know, though.
I know. Wow. I am upset I'm not there.
Tell the people who we have.
Yeah, we have the great Tony Orlando in studio. One of our best interviews we ever did there. A couple hours with Tony. And I'm good to see you, Tony. I'm across the country here in AC.
My old
stomping ground.
My old stomping grounds for sure. You know, I'll tell you something about that last podcast, and I told this to Jon at dinner last night. It amazed me because it was young in your existence, I think, when I did this podcast.
Yeah.
I would go across the country, and I'd be in different cities, and I called Jon. I said, Jon, this guy walked up and said, hey, I saw your podcast with your son and Bill. I said, wait a minute. You watched that podcast? Yeah, and I mean it. I mean that. I'm not kidding. It's amazing how far the tentacles go to this octopus.
I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but I think it's still our highest rated show. Certainly top 3.
Yeah, that was our highest rated show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, a lot of good comments, too. I read all the comments, tons of comments, and people said things in those comments, and they said, I've never knew this stuff about Tony that he talked about. It was so open. I've watched it 3 times. I mean, there was not only one, there's a dozen people that said that. So
to be honest with
really
you, Bill, I got the same thing.
Hey, I learned new things. That show, remember? Yeah, it's crazy.
Things I've been keeping from him for years. You know. But I'm proud of this show. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of Jon.
Oh, good. I'm proud of you
I'm
guys.
proud of your relationship. And, you know, Atlantic City, I opened Caesar's Palace.
Caesar's on the boardwalk.
Wow.
On the boardwalk. And it was a Holiday Inn. When it opened, it was a Holiday Inn, right, Bill? And I remember
Correct.
I named the showroom the bowling alley. And the reason I did was because it was a narrow, very narrow showroom. And Cosby, myself, Ann Margaret, and Paul Anka were the first 4 acts into that building.
Wow.
And I remember.
Wow.
And
Is it still Caesar's?
no.
Or
Yeah,
now-
oh, yeah, of course.
No,
Well,
it's
it's
not.
called Caesar still.
But it's not the Holiday Inn.
Right,
now. It's a real building.
Not the Holiday Inn.
It's a real building. It's no more. It wasn't Holiday
Where
Inn
was the
anymore.
time capsule?
Well, that's as interesting as you say. So, Trump Plaza, right, was Harris Trump Plaza.
Yep.
I was the guy that did the opening with the shovel in the ground with
The
Donald.
groundbreaking. Yeah.
The groundbreaking with Donald Trump and the governor of New Jersey. And they talked about taking this time capsule and putting it in, and it would open in 2020.
Oh, is that when?
Yeah. So I now call David Spatz,
Yep.
okay, who knows Atlantic City like nobody else. I said, David, where is this time capsule? What time capsule? I said, there's a time capsule put into the ground there with Donald Trump. I mean, he became president, too. I think it'd be important to find this. They don't know where it is.
Oh, you're kidding.
Unbelievable.
They don't know where the time capsule is. They don't know where they put it. They don't know where it is. I asked David, would you call the newspapers that covered the
Right.
story? They don't know where it is. I don't know if it was just talk for the moment
Right.
and it was never done, but somewhere in Atlantic City is a valuable,
Yeah.
time capsule.
On that boardwalk somewhere or underneath, right? Yeah.
And I remember my opening line, corny now when I think about it, my opening line was, Harris has finally got their Trump card. I remember saying that.
Wow, perfect.
And we opened that casino, and I have a picture at home of Trump looking up at me and the governor looking up at me. And I thought, I was in a position of power right there, man.
Yeah.
I have no idea the position that Harris put me in. But I'm very proud of that. And my relationship with Atlantic City, Bill, is really special to me as a performer because when I was with Harris, Tahoe, and then they opened Harris in Atlantic City, I worked 25 New Year's Eves
Yeah.
in Atlantic City. Jon knows he grew up being there all those 25 years.
Yeah.
And 15 of them was Harrah's, Atlantic City, and the rest were with other hotels, mostly Tropicana. So Harrah's, Tropicana, 25 New Year's Eves. The reason I'm proud of that is because you know that a New Year's Eve night is important to a casino.
Yeah.
Am I right? I mean,
the biggest night of the year.
That's their Super Bowl.
That's their Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Especially Atlantic City.
Yeah.
That is the number one of the year is New Year's Eve, Atlantic City. Impossible to get a room. And I'm proud to say that you still have worked New Year's Eves, including this past New Year's Eve at resorts.
At resorts,
correct?
Yep, I did. And it's a real honor when I think about it, because knowing that it's important says that I had impact with people in that area, and they come to see the show. I'm very proud of my years in Atlantic City. I think it's a great town. I think it's gone through its trials and tribulations, but that beach, and that water, and that hotel, that Ocean Hotel, it's going to turn everything around again.
Bill, I'll tell you a funny Atlantic City story. I opened for my dad when I did stand-up back in the day, and then, I went on to open for people like Dionne Warwick and Tom Jones and Paul Anka. And so I went through this, like, where I finally started to really hit my stride, like my 7th or 8th year of doing it. And it took me that long to get semi-decent at it, Bill. I remember I said to my dad, I'm like, well, you're doing Atlantic City for New Year's. I don't remember what hotel it was, maybe Resorts. I don't remember what hotel.
It was the Trop.
The Trop, you're right, Trop. So I said, I'm going to open for you. And he goes, yeah, you sure? Atlantic City? Atlantic City's a tough crowd here for New Year's. And I was like, what? Where did you were just at Tom when I opened for Tom Jones. I just crushed it. Like, I'm seeing the ball real well. Like, what are you talking about? I'm going to crush these people. He's like, I don't know, Jono. You don't look at the marquees up and down the boardwalk. You don't see any comedians New Year's Eve. It's a very loud, obnoxious crowd. I don't know. I was like, oh my God. I'm thinking in my head, like, come on, old man. Have you not watched what I've been doing this last month on stage? Like, I got this. Don't worry. I do 20, 25 minutes in my sleep, right?
And he did. That's true.
I got on stage, Bill. First of all, everybody had those noise makers and and the wind up things.
Yeah, they give them away.
I'm not kidding you, Bill. 6 minutes in, I had the white flag bailing out. He's in the wings. I could see. I literally went to my closing joke 6 minutes in. I was like, forget this bunch. I'm out of here. I come walking off stage. He's cracking up. He goes on stage. He basically tells a knock joke to open with, and everyone's like, Tony.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God, that's the truth. That's a true story.
I learned my lesson. Father knows best. Real quick.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. But you know what's funny? What's funny is the sound that I remember was the kazoos.
Yeah, those kazoos. I'm in the middle of talking, and they're like, brr. Yeah.
You know. I'll tell you about John's.
You remember that? You were there. Yeah.
Yeah. My brother David was there with us. I'll tell you, John. The one time I went to see John work, he opened, Bill, for Tom Jones. It was in Omaha at a casino in Omaha, Nebraska. And I get to this, and I don't tell him I'm coming, mainly because I don't want to see him die. I'm thinking this is a big one because his fans were all women, right? So John's going to come out to Tom's audience. I'm in the audience, and I look, literally a sea of women holding bras and panties in their hands, And then I'm thinking, he's going to come out. God, don't let this happen. And they're going to go, we want Tom. We want Tom. And I'm going, oh, shit. I can't believe that he's going to go on there. John comes out. And this is not just a father bragging about his son. Trust me, I knew the shoes he was about to fill. He was about to fill every major comic that ever opened for Tom Jones. Guys, famous guys, right? That knew this was John's basically first time. He gets on stage, first joke. It sounds like he bowled a strike, like the pins. That's what the laughter sounded like. Wow, crash. And prior to him coming out, I was like shaking. I never was so nervous in my life, And I just recently had time with the Rocket, Roger.
Yeah.
Okay,
Roger Clemens.
Roger Clemens, and Roger's son is now in the major leagues.
Yeah.
So I told him the story about you. I said, so how did you feel when you came out and your son, came? He goes, well, maybe you should have thought the same way about Jon, because Jon didn't come out as a singer. My son is not pitching. If my son was pitching, he said, I would have been a wreck.
I didn't realize his son
wow.
wasn't pitching.
Yeah.
I just assumed he was.
No, he's a hitter.
Oh.
So as long as he's a hitter.
Wow.
So Jon, his comedy stance had me shaken. But then I thought, if he was a singer
Right.
opening for Tom Jones, that
Right.
would have been disastrous for anybody, any singer. So after the show, I walked back and Tom looks at me and goes, just a chip off of the old block. Just a chip off of the old block.
Yeah, I remember that. Very good. Very good.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
He was very good, Tony.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
So I did some research. I did a little research last night. I was just looking at some old Tony Orlando videos on YouTube, and I went deep in, and I found a photo, not a photo, actually video of you and Bruce Springsteen. Do you know that's out there, Tony?
Yeah, Bruce.
Yeah,
Well, that was at Mohegan Sun.
Oh, okay.
And we actually we were receiving an award together there, and we talked about old days. I've known Bruce for a long time. In fact, Bruce Springsteen. There's a guy in Jon's life that's like a family member. His name is Brooks Arthur. Brooks has won more Grammys nominations than anybody in the world of engineering. Mm-hmm. And he's a record producer as well. And he does all of Adam Sandler's films, every film, for music. And so when Bruce started, he lived with Brooks Arthur.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah. And he lived with Brooks Arthur because Brooks had a recording studio in upstate New York, like near Tarrytown. And so he lived there. And that's when I knew Bruce. And I remember going to see him at the Troubadour with Brooks before he really exploded. And I remember sitting in there and watch this guy completely take the Troubadour, which was like a folk thing, and became this performer as well as this great writer, songwriter, artist. And I sat there, we went backstage, and the first thing he said to me was, I love Bobby Darin, which surprised me.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to say, I love Bob Dylan.
Right.
But he went, I love Bobby Darin. And we became close ever since that. And then when I saw him again at Mohegan Sun, I started singing Yellow Ribbon. They had me doing it. And there's a picture on my phone, which I will give to Jon to send to you, of him watching me sing.
Wow.
And there's this wonderful expression on his face like, the kid still got it.
That's cool.
And that's one of the great entertainers, recording artists ever, Bruce Springsteen, period.
Cool. And Brooks Arthur, I believe he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Is that correct, Tony?
I don't know if he's in the Rock and Roll. He might be.
He also Brooks produced a ton of comedy albums back in the day, like Pauly Shore's comedy albums, Robin Williams' comedy albums.
Oh, wow.
And the first albums. And their first
ones.
And Adam's first album also in 1993.
Adam's first comedy album, right? Yeah.
Yeah, his first album, his first comedy album.
Yeah. Now he's like the music supervisor, I think, for all
ever since
Happy
1993.
Madison. Yeah.
Ever since then.
Yeah. He's like a
but I seen that video, and then I seen some other videos go way back to '61 with, of course, the great Carole King, who I know you started out. She actually helped you start out. Is that correct, Carole King? In 1960 or 61. This was 61, I believe.
In 1961, you got it right. 1961, Carol, myself, her husband, Jerry Goffin, Barry Mann, and Cynthia Weil, who, if you saw the play Beautiful, it was about those four people, those four writers, because they were best friends, but yet competitive. So if Carol had a number one record, the other couple had Barry Mann had to have a number one. But they were very close, and that's what that play is all about. But that was my childhood. Carol, she was 18. Jerry, he was 19, her husband. Barry, he was 18. His wife was 18. I was 16. Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel were Tom and Jerry in that office.
Yeah.
They didn't make it as Tom and Jerry, obviously, until they changed the name back to their Simon and Garfunkel. Bobby Darin was in that office. Connie Francis was in that office.
That's crazy.
And Carole King, I met in Donnie's office. I was 16. He calls her in. She hadn't had a hit yet. And he says, I want you to meet this kid. I just signed him. Name is Tony Orlando. Play him that song, Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow? I think he'd make a great record on that. So Carole sits down. Now remember, Carole didn't have a hit yet. So she sits down and she starts to play. Tonight you're mine completely. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, what a song. So we finished the song, and her husband said, Tony can't record this. And I said, why? He says, it's a girl's song. I said, how is it a girl's song? He said, tonight you're mine with words unspoken. You say that I'm the only one. But will my heart be broken when the night meets the morning sun? Is this a lasting treasure or just a moment's pleasure? Can I believe the magic of your sighs? Will you still love me tomorrow? He said, no 16-year-old boy says that to a girl. You can't record this.
That's true.
And no male has ever recorded that again to have a hit with it.
Right.
Okay? So then he said, okay, play Halfway to Paradise. So he plays me Halfway, which I did record. It became my first hit. But at that session, my first session, Carole was the writer. Carole was the arranger of arranging for the Philharmonic, basically with a 30-piece orchestra in that. And there was only 4 tracks then.
Wow.
You know, no overdubbing. You had to sing it live.
Right.
Carole conducted. Carole wrote the songs that were hits. But listen to the 4 songs that were on my first session. So it was Halfway to Paradise. We did cut Will You Love Me Tomorrow to go into the album. Bless You, it became my second hit record. And a song called Take Good Care of My Baby. Every one of those songs were charted in the top 10 or number 1. So Carole was already in the stride of becoming the Carole King. But she never thought about being a singer, even though she was my professor in that sense. Because I would sit in her house on Brown Street in Brooklyn, and she would teach me phrasing. I remember singing Halfway to Paradise, and she would say, no, paradise, you have to say paradise like you would say a paradise. Like you're throwing a paradise. You can't say paradise.
Right.
So, Halfway to Paradise. So all these little things that you learn from this incredible writer who is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, who is with a show at Her Life on Broadway, who is one of those writers that will go down as one of the greats of all time, as well as Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil, because I had their second hit was called Bless You. So I was surrounded by these genius songwriters and didn't know it. In fact, Bill, I was signed as a writer. And because I worked with these 4 people, I never wrote again. I said, that's it, I'm not writing. Even though I signed as a writer, and I was getting $50 a week at 16 years old, 1961. That was a lot of money.
Giant money.
I never knew that,
money.
Bill. Learned something new again.
Wow.
Never knew that.
Yeah, $50 a week.
Did you know your dad was just in New Jersey, in Union City? Did you know that, John? A couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
So that's also a great video. And I'm sorry if I interrupted you, Tony, with another story, but your dad, and that would be, I guess, your great grandmother who lived on Bergen Line Avenue in Union City. Am I right, Tony?
You got it.
Is that
right?
On
my mom's side,
right.
She lived on Bergen Line Avenue, right where they put that star in Union City.
Right where they put that star.
Yeah.
Wow. And then I believe you said in that video that you lived, or I believe it was you lived a couple blocks away or somewhere there where you had Neil Sedaka, Carole King come over your house. All these people.
Well, they would come. They definitely would come to that little railroad apartment I had right off Summit Avenue. Right near the stadium, by the way, that was the stadium where Home Run Derby was filmed.
Wow.
The original Home Run Derby.
The original.
So, Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle.
Yep.
That baseball stadium was 1 block from where I lived in Union City. So I had this railroad apartment, one right after the other. And I had Lou Adler in there, of course, who produced movies. And,
sure.
Okay. I had Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil. I had Jerry Goffin in there. I had Bobby Darin in there. I had people in there that became legends in this little apartment. And we would sit there. I would play guitar. I only knew 4 chords, so I was making sure I was singing everything that had 4 chords. And then Carol would get up. She didn't play guitar, but she would sing something to those 4 chords and start inventing melodies. So when I think back to that apartment, these iconic people all came to be gathering together in Union City, New Jersey, this small little, right near the Lincoln Tunnel city. And they honored me with that star, and I was very, very proud of that.
Oh, it was great. Does the apartment still exist, Tony?
Yeah.
Where you were?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I even
That's
knocked on the
awesome.
door. I even knocked on the door.
You did that on the VH1 thing, right? Or no?
No, that was
different
21st
place?
Street.
Okay,
That was
okay,
the
sorry.
first apartment. That was
Okay.
the first childhood. This was later. And I went there, and I said, I'm going to go knock on the door. So I knocked on the door. I said, excuse me. I said, I'm so sorry. I said, my name's Tony Orlando. Tony Orlando? Yeah. I said, I used to live here. You lived here? Yeah. You want to come in? I don't want to. Come on in. I'll make you a cup of coffee. Come on. I sat there. I told them everything that happened in that apartment.
Wow.
You know?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's cool.
They had no idea.
Yeah, it was fun.
Oh my God.
And I did it again.
Oh,
John's
my
right on
Behind the
Behind
music
the
on
Music.
VH1.
They asked me, they said, where were you born in New York and where were you raised? I said, Chelsea. So I said, in fact, I used to sing in the hallways with my group, the Five Gents, we used to do a doo-wop group. Can we go there to film it? I said, sure. Let's go upstairs and knock on the door and see what happens. So I had this image of this apartment that I lived in. At that time, it was actually 7 rooms. Think of 7 rooms in New York, what that would be today.
Oh yeah.
Right? And I thought of this place with huge. I thought it was huge rooms. I knock on the door, I open the door, and they follow me in with the camera behind the music. And I was like 200 square feet. It was a tiny, tiny little room. But to relive those moments, go up on the roof where I used to sing with my group, the Five Gents, we go up there and sing doo-wop songs in the summertime, was a big part of the dream. You know, the dream started on the rooftop, for sure.
Of course. Beautiful, beautiful. And since you're speaking of New York, I found a great video, and this video is very dear to me. I only watched it yesterday for the first time. It's Tony and it's Thelma and Joyce, which is Dawn, of course.
Yep.
In New York, you're singing a Christmas song in New York. You're dressed in black with a red scarf. You look unbelievable. John, did you see this video? I'm sure you've seen it.
No.
No.
Does Travis have it?
Oh,
Can you
it's on YouTube. It's on YouTube. It's so good. It's your dad walking through the different little neighborhoods in the city around Rockefeller Center and the tree, and just it's such a touching video. I watched it a few times,
Thank
and
you.
I just you
Christmas
should see
in New
it
York. It's called Christmas
in New York.
Is the
That's
name
it.
of the video,
Christmas.
and you can get that video on YouTube. And it was really
It's on YouTube.
It was a
was
kind
so
of it was a
cool.
reunion thing with Thelma and Joyce and I actually, and we were on a tour as a reunion, and it was Christmas time. We were doing a Christmas show, and we went to Rockefeller Center, and we had all the people there, and thank God they were old enough to remember the songs. You know,
Right.
listening, knock 3 times. You know, it was a fun video. Thank you
This
for
is like
bringing
10
that
or 10 or 15 years ago, maybe?
up.
Like that
God,
reunion?
This
or-
was '88.
Oh, 88.
Well,
Okay. When you did the shows
there
at the
you go.
Desert Inn and stuff. Yeah.
That one. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right,
Well,
last
you
one,
did.
guys,
You
last
did. You
one.
did your homework.
I did some research.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Tony. Here's the last one here.
Oh my God.
Marie, and the Pointer Sisters. Look at
And
the
the
dresses,
Pointer
will you?
Sisters.
Look what they're wearing. Oh my God!
And you with no mustache.
Right, because
So this is 1980.
yes, because I just done that film.
300 Miles for Stephanie
yeah,
with
I had to shave it
Eddie
off.
Almost,
Yeah.
Edward James Almost.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Crack, did you ever see that movie?
I thought. No.
How
like
is that on
Edward James
YouTube?
Almost though.
It's on YouTube. Yeah.
You need when you later on look up
Okay.
300 Miles for Stephanie on
Okay,
YouTube,
cool.
and you might be able to watch the whole movie. And it's a true story. It's a really cool story.
Oh wow.
But yeah,
I
he's-
just thought it looked so cool. He got no mustache. I didn't even could hardly tell it's him. He looked so young, and he in that.
Look, so young. I was young.
or you also
Oh.
you played Jose Ferrer. That could have been that too, right?
That was Jose Ferrer.
Oh, that was that.
That was that.
Oh, okay.
That
From
was that.
Rosemary Clooney's story.
okay.
I did 2 movies in the same year. So 1980, I did a film, The Rosemary Clooney Story. I played her husband, Jose Ferrer, who was a giant movie star in his day. and a giant movie director in his day, and a giant Broadway actor in his day, and a Shakespearean actor. So Rosemary Clooney chose me because I had Hispanic eyes, she said, because he was Puerto Rican.
Right.
And she said, I want you to play Joe. And I played Joe. And it was a great experience because it was a dramatic film. It had nothing to do with Dawn or singing. And so it was a great challenge for me. And then I did a movie called 300 Miles for Stephanie, which also I produced. Was a true story based on a girl who had issues, her health issues, she couldn't walk. And the father was a policeman, and he ran 300 miles, hoping that he would pray to God and say, I'm going to run 300 miles. If I make that 300 miles, please make my prayer come true. And sure enough, it did. So
beautiful.
So that movie also got an Emmy nomination, by the way. Yeah. So in that year, I played 2 movies because the producers didn't want this identity, because the identity with the mustache was definitely mine. I'll tell you a story about that, John and Bill.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, Spielberg.
Yep.
I got a call from Spielberg, and
for Raiders.
Yeah, for Raiders.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
The guy who gets all the actors. What's his position now?
The director.
No.
The casting director.
The casting director.
Yeah.
Calls me and says, Tony, I want you to read for this new movie called Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones. And he said, I believe you can get this part. So I do the reading, I do it on video, and I get a call back, and it's Steven Spielberg on the phone. And he says, Tony, I just want you to know something. I think your performance was unbelievable. And I'm not just saying that. I had to call you because I owe you an apology. You should have this part. But let me tell you why I'm not going there. You're so identifiable as Tony Orlando on the TV show with that mustache and who you are. I don't want it to shade the character. Mm-hmm. I said, I understand that. No problem. Thank you for even calling me and telling me this. So that mustache in its day, remember, there was only 3 networks then. There was no cable.
Yeah, and no Fox, not even Fox yet, just ABC, NBC, and CBS.
That's it, and your local station. So we had 35 million people a week every Wednesday night watch that show. So your visibility in what you are, you were branded. That was a branding.
Right.
So our look with 2 African-American girls and this Rican in the middle with this mustache, it prevented me from being able to move out of that into things like Indiana Jones because it was just too powerful. The TV set was too powerful. So I look back on that now, and that mustache, when I see that mustache removed, there was a big difference between the guy with the mustache and but I don't think even Spielberg wanted to try that magic.
Right.
He was right. Of course, he was right.
That's great.
John, what did you have? I've been taking all your screen time away.
No, you're good. So I think I saw that you saw this movie, Bill. You saw the Elvis movie, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Not only did I see it, I don't know if you know, I haven't told you yet. I walked out of the theater, immediately thought of my dad when I got to take my dad to Graceland, one of the wishes he wanted. I text your dad right after the movie. Did you know that?
No, I didn't, because I was going to say you both have something in common, which you both have been raving about this movie.
Yeah, I texted him right after the movie, and he then sent me a text that he actually called Priscilla and let her know how much I liked it. So that was an honor. That was,
I did.
Yeah.
And you know,
so go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
Yeah, John. I mean, I don't mean to interrupt you, John.
No, go ahead.
You bring up this movie.
That's why I brought it up, just to let you guys talk.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I was
just
trying
fly
to
on
tell
this
John
wall.
last night at dinner. I said, John, this kid who plays Elvis, this is not an impersonator. This is an actor. This kid nailed this movie. He nailed it on a lot of different levels. Not only did he nail it, the performance, the moves, the Elvis moves that we all know, but he never did a thank you very much. He never did that. He never did those things that you always expect. In fact, he was just a human being. And to see the tragedy that happened to him, and I told this to Priscilla, by the way, Bill. on that phone call because I've known Priscilla for a long, long time. And I said, I don't know how you sat through this movie.
Yeah.
That one scene, Bill, where he's getting on the plane and he looks back at the limousine and they're broke. Elvis Presley is broke. They are now getting a divorce. He's fired his manager. He had this confrontation with his business manager father. It's a tragedy.
Yeah.
Elvis Presley is about to implode and explode at the same time. And he looks back at Priscilla and he's walking up to his plane and he says, and he mouths it. The director was brilliant because he didn't go, I will always love you. No, he went,
Wow.
and when he did that, I said to Priscilla, how did you sit through that?
Yeah.
How could she said, 4 times I've seen the film. And every time that scene comes, I bawl, I cry.
Wow.
Sure.
And she said, and then I said, and this thing with Colonel Parker, I realized that this movie was not about Elvis only. This movie was about Colonel Parker. And I had my day with Colonel Parker. I was telling Jon a story last night. Can I share that story?
Yeah.
So, Bill, I get a call from, Colonel Parker used to call my mother, his grandmother, every year for Mother's Day for 20 straight years. So that's how long I knew Colonel But I didn't know the Colonel Parker that you and I saw in the movie. I saw just a guy who was nice to my mother, right? And everybody back then thought of him as this genius, which he was, with Elvis. So I get a phone call from him and the agency, William Morris. Norman Brokaw, CEO, calls me up and says, listen, come to the office. Colonel Parker wants to manage you. I told this story to Priscilla. She had never heard it before. And it goes into the movie. I'll bring it back into the movie. You'll see why, Bill. So he goes, he wants to manage you. So we sit down at the desk, have a lunch. And he goes, Tony, I saw your show at the Hilton, the same hotel that Elvis worked. I worked for 12 years. So often I would cross paths with Elvis as I was leaving, coming on. He was coming in. So there was that circle of friendship right there. So he says, I never saw your show until last Saturday night. He said, you killed him. I said, well, thank you, Colonel. He says, I want to manage you. I said, wow, I'm really flattered by that. He said, you got up and you sang Michael Rode the Boat Ashore and Amen and all these gospel songs. You know what you are? You're a preacher. He said, have you ever watched the 700 Club? I said, yeah. He said, did you ever see what they sell on there? Crosses and Bibles? Do you have any idea how much money? That's millions of dollars. I said, yeah, probably. He said, I want to open the Church of the Yellow Ribbon. And I want you to be its pastor. And I said, Colonel, with due respects, I just figured something out about you. 2 things about you and Elvis. 1, you were very lucky to have him. 2, lightning will only strike once in your life, because this is the worst idea I've ever heard in my life. I said, are you kidding?
That's unbelievable.
I said, are you kidding me? You want me to be struck by lightning? You want me to do something as blasphemous as selling? When Christ came in on a Sabbath, he turned over the tables because they were selling product on the Sabbath. It ain't going to happen to me, but I love you for thinking of me. Thank you. So I tell this story to Priscilla. She says, it's sad to say this, Tony, but he was right.
Wow.
So I said, what? She goes, no, this is the thing about him. He was a terrible situation with him, as you saw in the film, but he was brilliant. In fact, I brought up that scene. Bill, do you remember the scene when they're in the house with the mother at the mansion for the first time, and they're looking at all the merchandise and product? This is how it relates to items to sell. The mother comes in the movie, and she says, what is this? I hate Elvis buttons? And he said, yeah, we have everybody. In other words, they're gonna. Sorry for this phone. Hang
That's
on.
all right. That's all right.
I know.
They have the fans and the haters.
The fans and the haters. So she had everybody.
Yeah.
So she says that was his brilliance, really.
Yeah.
And that's where they made all their money, is on stuff like that. So my experience with Elvis is a great one. My experience with Priscilla is even a greater one. This is one of the nicest, kindest, really most wonderful person you'll ever want to meet. She does not walk like the Queen Elvis, never did. She's a regular human being. She gets on the phone. I remember talking to her on my radio show, and she brought up the fact that her mother was not well, and she was in her 90s, and she talked about it in a way that's just human. Now, this is a girl that married the biggest star ever. You know, I don't think he died at 42 years old, Jon, Elvis Presley. Am I right, Bill?
Yep, 42.
42.
Yeah.
And his success has outlived bigger in death than in life.
Yeah, it's true.
Because he had his downgrade time right before that, you know?
Yep.
Sure.
But that movie, tell me the truth, was that not one of the most beautifully produced?
I loved it.
Produced also, beautifully produced, cinematographically beautiful. The shots were gorgeous. And it wasn't a musical. He didn't come out and sing Burning Hunger Love. He didn't come out singing all these songs. In fact, he sang maybe this much of a song. And the other thing I didn't know is that he was close to B.B. King.
Right, yeah, B.B. had a big role a couple times in the movie. Down on, was that Beale Street, I think?
Yeah. In Memphis. Yeah.
Memphis. Yeah, he was close to. Now, if the movie portrayals are accurate, that's exactly right. There's some things there. I don't know if Priscilla had a hand in the movie, but I'd like to know, because I've seen an interview with Priscilla where she talks very good about the Colonel and
she did last night.
How good he was.
Wait a minute.
So,
she even said nice things about the Colonel last night.
Wow. Okay.
So there wasn't. It's one of those things where this was the bad side of him.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And
people walked away from the movie thinking he's a carny, a huckster, a hustler. Because he didn't tell Elvis about his passport. He was here illegally, and people walked away hating Colonel.
He was a huckster.
Yeah.
Come on.
Right.
He was a circus guy huckster. Please.
Circus guy. Right.
Come on. I mean, he was. Listen. Here's a guy. In his beginnings, this is a story that came to me from Colonel Parker, by the way. So I said to him one day, how did it all begin with you with the circus and all this? So he said, because I did Barnum on Broadway. So we had this kind of thing. So he said, well, this circus came to me one day and they said to me, we're losing money. We need your help, because he was already successful in the circus world. And he goes, well, what are you charging? So he said, well, we took it down to 50 cents, the admission. So he said, okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to charge $1.50. So the circus people said, well, wait a minute. $1.50, we can't sell a ticket at 50 cents. He said, do me a favor. Get me a hot plate, okay? And get me a chicken. And we're going to charge another 50 cents to come see the dancing chicken. We're going to put the chicken on the hot plate, turn up the heat, and that chicken's going to go like this while the music's playing. Okay? So anybody that has that kind of creativity in making money also had the creativity of hurting someone. No manager, I don't give a damn who you are, earns 50% of your income.
It's crazy.
That's where he was a huckster. Please. Yeah. Elvis Presley had to go out there and sweat in those shows. Elvis Presley had to put up with the crap that went on, that he was, evil and
a crazy tax bracket back then, right?
You know what he's talking about? You're talking about a 90% tax bracket.
Sure.
So you're giving 50% to a guy
off the top.
Really, I don't care how brilliant he is.
Right.
The same thing should have reversed on him.
Yeah.
He should have not been getting 50%.
Yeah.
And he took it and he blew it. And not only did he blow it, but when Elvis was down and on the floor, what he said was, get him up. He has to be on that stage. He had no heart for the moment that Elvis was ill.
Right.
Sorry. I liked Colonel Parker. I still think back in good ways of Colonel Parker. He was great to my mom. But when I think of what he did that day to that guy, being an entertainer, if I was paying 50% and some guy said, get him off the floor, he got to be on that stage. That's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was bad. He was bad. I seen a real special with his hairdresser. I think his name was Larry Geller. That he told Larry once, the only thing that matters is that man's on the stage tonight, and they hated him for that.
That's the line that's in the movie, Bill.
It's in the movie too. Yeah.
I'm dying to see this. I got to go see it. Okay, we don't have much time left, but let's talk a little baseball because if all the stars line up, we could have Yankees versus Dodgers, or maybe even Yankees versus Mets. Dad, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, up to the All-Star game, I think we still have a long way to go. I think it's too soon to call it, really. Anything can happen. Now, this pitching staff, I think Brian Cashman had made some incredible calls, really.
Yeah.
I really do. I think when everybody thought, oh, my God, the Yankees have no pitching.
I've been saying that, and my buddy Craig Handelsman, shout out to Craig, reminds me every day how great the Yankees are. And I keep saying, oh, they're going to fold, they're going to fold. They're not going to fold, are they? It's not happening.
Well, you never know. I mean, this is an historic year. Up to now, I think, Bill, you would know this, they're in a position to equal some of the great Yankee teams of all time.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. They're on a 120-game win pace, even though they lost yesterday to Pittsburgh. Absolutely correct. This team is just gelled together. But sometimes, though, you said it right. It's amazing because there was a couple times this season they just didn't even score a run for like 15 innings straight. They just went through that. They're going through a little bit now.
Right.
You never know. The New York Mets seem like they're a powerhouse, too. They seem like they never have closing power. At the end of the season. Way too early to call. The Yankees, I'm sure, will be in the playoffs, but they have, it's only a random sampling of, 5 to 7 games, and you never know what happens in these random samples. This team has went through different trials and tribulations already this year offensively.
One of the things that has happened this year with the Yankees is there's a camaraderie in that dugout, in that clubhouse. I didn't feel that with teams past.
Mm-hmm.
I felt cliques.
Yeah.
I felt, there were the superstars and there was little cliques. This year, because of one guy, and I have no proof of this, even though Brian Cashman is a dear friend, I don't ask him questions like that. But I think Rizzo
for sure.
has been a major glue
For sure.
for this team.
Yeah. And it's one of those teams where every night it's a different guy. It's Stanton, and then it's Judge. It always seems like it's always Judge, but it's Rizzo, it's Carpenter. They picked up Carpenter, and he's
Carpenter, amazing pickup.
That's amazing grace
pickup.
Right there. That's amazing grace.
He's great. They're veteran in the clubhouse, putting this team together, like your dad said. You got these guys. They're all gelling. Like it really is. What a good point, Jono. Great pickup by the Yankees. He's coming along. He's been pretty key now also. And, of course, Judge, he's like your dad. He's so nice to everyone. He goes around in the neighborhoods. He meets people he's just a nice guy. And he's going to be a superstar. He is a superstar already. They really have to give him this contract. He has to be a career Yankee like Jeter. So I'm sure that will happen. But
so let me ask you a question. If you look at their overhead and you look at Stanton,
mm-hmm.
would you be hesitating giving him $400 million
to give Judge?
To give Judge, if you keep Stanton?
Yeah, I mean that's tough, right?
What do you think?
You got to pay Judge.
He wants 12 years. 12 years is, it's an amazing. Even though Judge says he doesn't care about it, his agent's mouth, he just wants to play ball. Obviously his agent thinks he can get a 12-year contract with the Yankees, and that'll put him up in his 40s. So
does he do one of those? Does he do one of those Bobby Bonilla style deals where it's deferred money for a while?
Yeah,
like, did you see that last week? Bobby Bonilla got another $1 million check. He hasn't played in like 12 years or something.
Yeah. That's the greatest World Series of all time.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah. He gets it for another 8 years. John.
Bill, let me ask you this. I feel like the Dodgers are still, in terms of betting, are they still the favorites, and how? Or is it the Yankees?
No, the Yankees are Yankees and Dodgers. I'll give you the DraftKings line since I'm on DraftKings. The Dodgers were more of a favorite, though. You're absolutely right.
How is that possible?
Yeah. But let's see now. Let's go to the team futures. Here we go. The Dodgers and the Yankees are both 4-1 to win the World Series. Astros 5.5 to 1. Mets 7.5 to 1. So Dodgers and Yankees are co-favorites to win the World Series. Of course, I wouldn't recommend betting anything like that. It's way too low. 4-1 is just not enough to take right now, this early stage of the season.
Is it are there any dogs that you look at where you go, like maybe the Brewers? I don't know what the Brewers are, but like, they've certainly got great pitching, or the Astros. Like, would you entertain taking one of those, or no? You just stay away from the futures for that?
You know what it is, John? This is mostly a square sucker bet for the people that like to bet futures and have action all year long. There's so much of a take and a hold when you bet like this. It's just hard to look at this time of the year and bet into this pool. You have to tie your money up for the next 4 or 5 months. And literally, they take 25 to 50% juice in the pool, a future pool. Now, there is some other things that you could still bet. You could still bet, believe it or not, you could still bet the team over-unders. Certain teams you could bet, over-under for the season. They're season specials that they have. Now, you could bet either way there. So there's some value in that maybe. But as far as betting a future right now on one of these teams, I can't see taking 4-1, even on the Yankees. I just can't see taking 4-1. And I just I'm looking at FanDuel now. It's kind of the same odds there. World Series odds. Yeah, they're 4-1. Dodgers are 4.5 to 1 at FanDuel, by the way. So they're it's just still too low though for me at this time.
There you have it, people. The Crack Man has spoken. I want to remind everybody to download the Crack Wins app. The guy's got picks all day long. Bill never hits me up before a UFC fight and offers UFC picks. He sent me 3 UFC picks last week at the huge International Fight Week card, and all 3 he got right, and I disagreed with 2 of them. So listen to the Crack Man. Don't listen to me. Download the Crack Wins app. It's on Apple. It's on Google Play.
Hey, John, I don't know if you know, we had some really good information on the draft. On the NBA draft, I sent out Banchero 2 weeks ago.
And you talked about it on the show. You mentioned it on the show, and it hit.
It's 12 to 1. He was 12 to 1. Went down to the favorite -2 to 1. A guy on ESPN came out, who everyone respects, and picked him. He said he's not going to be. He's going to go third. The odds went up to +10 to 1 again on game day.
Yeah.
And I was really proud.
Let me explain this to my dad. So 2 weeks ago, Bill gives out the NBA draft was happening. Bill says, this guy, I already forgot the guy's name because I hate basketball.
Banchero.
Okay, so Bill gives out this name. He says he was 12 to 1 to be the first pick in the draft, meaning he's not going to be the first pick of the draft. He's 12 to 1. There's a bunch of other guys that are going to number 1, but Bill says, nope, this guy's going to be number 1. It's 12 to 1, and he was right.
How did you know that? How did you know that?
We actually did some research on some mock drafts, and the ones that were out at the time, literally 2 of them, I seen this guy going number 1, and one of the guys I really respected his draft picks previously, his mock drafts. I said, well, wait a minute. This guy can't be 12 to 1. Actually, he was 18 to 1 at DraftKings. I'm sorry, at FanDuel. I was like, this guy can't be 18 to 1 if this guy's picking him and says he could go number 1. Did some more research. He definitely wasn't the favorite. He shouldn't have been the favorite according to the experts on ESPN, the so-called experts. But I knew he shouldn't have been 18 to 1 or 12 to 1. And, not that we got lucky. This is a researched, back-tested data, looking at stuff. That's what we do from analytics. We look at things and just research social media and things like that. And it was a really good score for me and all my guys that followed me. So that was a good thing. And now we have other things going on now. The hockey draft is actually tonight. There's some futures that we have on some different things. And here we have Summer League starting in NBA. These are things that Tony probably said, hey, you could bet on NBA Summer League. And yeah, you could bet
crazy.
on the stuff that doesn't even count. NBA Summer League. These are the little things that are really valuable because they're not covered so much by the media. And that's what I look for. I look for little things like that aren't covered so much by ESPN and every other single media source. This way I can find little nuggets from my guys and we can put it out there. And, we have the end of baseball. Of course, we're at the halfway point here almost. And then we'll be back into preseason NFL and NFL season, which was great to me last year. Props and stuff. Should be fun. Good time. Crackwins.com and Crackwins app.
I got a question for both of you.
Yeah.
Did you ever think that you would be talking about betting on baseball, on MLB? Did you ever think, being what happened to Pete Rose,
Right.
that you would
Such a
ever
good
see
question.
a day that you could just comfortably say, I'm betting on the Mets?
And isn't that just a kick in the ass to Pete Rose? Still not in the Hall of Fame. And
Not in the Hall of
MLB,
Fame.
not only do they talk about it, Major League Baseball invested in DraftKings,
They're embedded.
invested
They're
in
embedded.
FanDuel.
So what I'm saying is, why hasn't anybody brought them to the fire here?
I don't know.
This is not right.
No, you're
Yeah.
right. It's not right that Pete Rose, whether his personal off-the-field attitude and stuff, and whatever he said, but it's not fair to a guy that was that good in baseball, one of the best of all time. He is supposed to be in the Hall of Fame. It's ridiculous.
And wait a
ridiculous.
minute. We just went through a period where they were cheating with the TV on and calling games and
The Astros.
and getting ass cans to let you know
That's
what the
right.
pitch was. And we're going to sit here and not say, Pete, you know what?
It's crazy.
It's time. They're bragging about, I love Albert Pujols. I love him. Okay, 3,000 hits. Oh, we got 3,000. He had 4,000
No, it's crazy.
hits.
Record that'll never get broken.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Crack, before we get out of here, tell the fine people, is there anything fun or interesting over on WSN.com that they need to know about?
Sure. WSN.com is, of course, they're the great sponsor of our show. And even if they weren't, I'd be talking about them because of their articles. They have every single day fresh new articles. They have so many different sources of these articles. So it's not just one person. So I'm on their site right now. There's a prediction section, as we know. There's also, you can find all of our podcasts on WSN right on the front of that. But there's also on there, the things I love. There's articles that you can learn about some different things in the different sports that they do have bets on now. Euro 2022. Of course, there's all different things on the baseball right now. The Mets, are they the best team? The Yankees. U.S. sports betting news I love. Tells you about all over the United States. What are the new states getting involved? North Carolina lost by 1 vote of getting legalized sports betting. They talk about that. They talk about the LIV tour. Massachusetts trying to get sports betting still, ending regulations. So there's a lot of different things in there. Also, the most important things that I think are the bonuses. You can click on your state, your jurisdiction. WSN has negotiated the best bonuses when you guys sign up. And trust me, coming up now in the next month, you'll see these bonuses. They are so juicy. Just look at WSN.com, click on your state, your jurisdiction for all your bonuses. Like I said, they've negotiated some that you can't even get going to the regular site.
Beautifully said. We could sit here for hours, but unfortunately, Dad has an appointment with your dentist.
Right.
He's got an appointment with your dentist, with my dentist, with Las Vegas' favorite dentist, Dr. Steve Kim over at Hollywood Smile.
Just look at this beautiful Hollywood Smile. Just Dr. Kim, just look at this.
Shameless plug there for the Dr. Kim. All right, Bill.
Great. We'll be back next week, and I'll be in studio next week. Tony, when are you headed back home this week?
I go back Friday, but I'm just going to say something to the both of you, even though one of you is my son. I'm really proud of this show, and I think it's great, and I'm a fan of yours, Bill. I think you're amazing, and I love the relationship you have with Jon. I want to thank you for being a loyal friend to him. I know how he feels about you, okay? You're Uncle Bill. And so that makes us brothers,
I love it.
That's right. Tony, that's an honor, and it's very touching to me. And I appreciate our relationship. I could just text you without John O even knowing about the Elvis movie.
We talk to each other a lot.
Yeah, I know you do. I know.
We do.
Real quick. So I go to. I'm sorry, Travis. I know. So I go to Joe Rogan's show. I get last minute tickets from another doctor, Dr. Corsandi, to go see Joe Rogan last Sunday night, Sunday night,
sure,
or Friday night. Sorry, and or whatever night. Who cares? And I'm sitting there, and I guess he gave 2 other tickets to some friends of his. So this guy comes in and he says, "Are you Jon?" I say, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh." He goes, "You're Tony Orlando's son." I say, "Yeah." He goes, "My friend interviewed your dad recently." I said, "He did?" I said, what was it for? He goes, "Well, his name's Bill Krackomberger." I go, "Wait, what?" He's like, "Yeah, his name's Bill Krackomberger. He's got a podcast and he interviewed your dad." I go, "I'm the co-host of that show."
Oh my God! And that was my friend Dr. Bregman,
Yeah.
great foot doctor in Las Vegas. Also a fan of yours, Tony. You ever have anything wrong with any feet, he's the guy to go to. And he's in Las Vegas here. He won't charge you anything.
All right.
And but he's the guy that was there, and he just didn't know. He didn't realize it. But
I also owe you a big thanks. I have a buddy of mine who has a tow truck company here. His name is Darren Huffman, and he's a football fan. He's never been to a football game.
Oh.
And you guys set him up in that suite.
He's the one you got the tickets
great.
for the Raiders. Raiders.
The Raiders game.
Broncos. Yeah.
He'll tow your house now if you want. He'll tow anything you need towed.
Oh, that's great. No problem.
Travis is
Great
giving
job,
me
guys.
the show has ended look.
Love you,
Tony,
Bill.
thank you.
Thank
God
you.
bless you. Love
God
you
bless
guys.
you.
See you next week on Wise
Thank you,
Kracks.
guys.